Hey listeners, welcome back to Dreadful Dialogue. As usual, I'm your host Alyse, and today I haven't had him with me in a long time. I got Paul with me.
Hey everybody, it's good to be back. I was out for a while, I think almost a month. I couldn't even speak. I had a really bad cold, and anyways, I'm back.
Well, glad to have you back. So we got, for today's episode, we are going to be talking about everything that we watched in October this month. Now, I know when this comes out, we're already long past October, but we always have a tradition of every day in October watching something scary, something in the horror genre. And we always try to pick a variety of films. You know, we don't just pick new stuff. We don't just pick old stuff. We don't just pick slashers or found footage. We pick a variety of them. And most of these movies are movies we've never seen before, or we haven't seen them in so long since we were like kids that we can't remember them. So with that.
And we alternate.
Oh, yeah, we alternate, yes.
Like she picks one day, I pick the other, and we don't tell each other what we're picking. We just pick it, and that's what we're stuck with. So some of them, you know, we don't necessarily like the other person's choice, but we watch it, and sometimes we enjoy it.
Yeah. So if it, whether it's a silly movie, a serious movie, a part of the horror genre we're not exactly interested in, hey, we still have to stick with it. So let's talk about, we'll go with my pick first. So and I didn't write these down in the order we watched them, but one of the movies that I picked was Psycho 2. And I had never seen Psycho 2. I'm, of course, big fan of Psycho 1. I had heard about Psycho 2 because of Girl That's Scary. They're a horror podcast that I'm a big fan of. And I finally saw it was streaming on Netflix. So I picked that one and I really liked it.
What's funny is that when I think of the movie Psycho, I'm actually thinking of the movie Psycho 2 because it was, you know, from 1983. And that was when I was at least old enough around that age to be able to watch these types of movies. And so when I always hear Psycho, I think, oh, I'm thinking of Psycho 2. And I think, oh, Psycho is actually this, and this is in color, right? As opposed to the original Psycho when it's just in black and white. But I always think Psycho is Psycho 2. So it was kind of interesting to see that. I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is actually Psycho 2.
And I think he could have done the first one in color, if I remember correctly. Hitchcock did it in black and white on purpose because I don't think there were only black and white movies at the time. I'd have to look up exactly what year. I think it came out in the 60s. But yeah, so it was really cool. If you haven't checked it out, and like with all these movies, we're going to do our best not to super spoil them. We'll just talk a few minutes about each one and move on because we do have 31 to get through. But I think it's really cool to check out. It really continues the story of Norman Bates and adds to the lore of him. So check that one out. So
yeah, it was kind of, this one was more like you become sympathetic of Norman because everyone looks at him as you just got out of jail. Now you're this killer and no one trusts you. But really in this movie, he's trying to be good and bad things happen because people are trying to do bad things to him or get him in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. So we won't say too much more because I don't really want to spoil that one, but definitely check it out. What was one of the movies you picked, Paul?
So, you know, I like the sillier movies. So one of my first movies that I chose was Attack of the Meth Gator.
Sorry, I'm already laughing.
You know, one of the I guess big budget movies that came out earlier was Cocaine Bear, and it's loosely based on a story about a bear that got a stash of cocaine and ate like a kilo of cocaine and then died of a heart attack. But in the movie, something else happened. So anyways, so this is the low budget version of it called Attack of the Meth Gator. So similar premise, meth gets dumped in a bayou, some gator got to it, and now he's gone crazy and is killing a bunch of people.
I don't like these silly movies as much as Paul. I would pass on this one. I'm going to be honest. Some of these movies, I might say just pass on them. I wouldn't personally put it up there. There's some other great silly creature features out there that you can watch where they're a mashup of an animal and consuming of something else or doing something silly. I didn't think it was the greatest one, and I do enjoy bad movies. But that one came out this year, 2024.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch. I think it's called Meth Jaguar soon. So that's gonna be the next on the list.
Yeah, most of the silly ones are picked out by Paul. All right, so another movie I picked out was Apartment 7A, which again, that's a 2024 movie, and that is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby. And I was really worried about it because I was like, what are they going to bring that's new to it? And I did kind of predict what was going to happen in the story. Because if you've seen the first one, you know enough about the person before Rosemary that lived in the apartment building. And it's very clear, you mean, even from the trailer, I'm not spoiling it, that that's who they're going to follow. But even though they follow that, they do bring more to the story. And I really liked the two main characters that are, taking Rosemary under their wing and looking out for her. They were so well acted, and you really thought like you were still in the original timeline. The costumes, their voices, their personalities were hilarious, just like the original characters. So if you're a fan of Rosemary's Baby, I think you'll dig Apartment 7A.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I like the timepiece, how they made it look. It looked like the older version of the film, and the story was very similar, but it was a little different take on it. And then the next movie that I watched, or we watched, and it's kind of timely in this sense, is because today is Friday the 13th when we're recording it. And so the next movie was Saturday the 14th. And this was a uh, parody of older horror movies, right? So this was done in 1981. I never watched it. This is the first time I watched it. And basically, it was uh, movies that were produced before, like Psycho and Rosemary's Baby and everything like that, is kind of a mashup of the different genres of older horror movies. Plus, I would say like a Adam's Family, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's the best way to describe it. It's a family that's in a house, and they have bad luck in the house. And I don't remember too much about it because I was kind of distracted. But I don't remember if you know
Uh,
a lot.
yeah, I wouldn't call it a very memorable one. If it's one you miss, you won't be missing out too much. But it did have some kind of like you said, I think it had homages to like some of the earlier horror genre movies. Like I think there was even like a shout out to like Creature in there, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it definitely like had the vibes of like you said, Adam's Family or the Munsters.
Yeah, they had a scene where there's a girl taking a bath, and she's in the bath, and there's a shark fin that's kind of floating around. And I don't even think when was Jaws made? Do you remember?
I don't know. I
It was like in the 80s,
think it
right?
was in the.
I don't know,
I believe it was in the 80s. I can.
like 80, but after 81, because this was made in 81, so I don't remember.
I'll
But
Google that
anyways,
shit.
so the scene is this in the bathtub. There's this fin, this Jaws fin, rolling around, and what actually comes out of the water is a creature like Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, like the Gill Man. It came out in 1975. I checked on the. I checked
Okay,
on
so
the
then
old Google machine.
all right, so then that's why they had that in there. So
Yeah. A new one that we checked out was also 2024, and I think this one is only on Shutter. Was Oddity, and I didn't know too much. The trailer did a really good job of keeping it kind of cryptic, but it's about a lady who has odd objects and the things that these odd objects are doing, and I don't really know how to describe too much more about it without giving it away. It's got some pretty cool, unsettling scenes in it. And yeah, I don't want to say too much about this one, but I would definitely check this one out as well.
yeah, Oddity was a good one. It was kind of a murder mystery movie with some demonic, I don't know, haunting
Like
things
she
that
was
are
like a
in the back.
medium almost. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe it without like I said without giving away too much.
Well, you got to give away some of it.
Well, I don't want to spoil.
Otherwise, you're just not describing anything.
Oh. Well, I think you summed it up. It's a murder mystery. There's this lady that's kind of a medium and she's blind and she's trying to figure out who killed her sister. And she is a collector of these odd objects, and the odd objects are going to help her. And along the way, there's some sinister and unsettling things that happen.
Another one we watched was Hell House LLC. Now, I hadn't watched any of
Yeah,
these,
me neither.
so I wanted to, take a look at um, the showcase film for this series, and it was pretty good. It's a found footage type of movie where a group of friends basically were setting up a haunted house for Halloween, and they ended up finding a haunted house that was truly haunted, and bad things happened basically in it. So that's the best description I can give.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I'm not a huge found footage fan. I mean, I liked, of course, Blair Witch when it came out because it was like the first found footage that I think really ever came out, and that it actually scared me at the time because I was young. I think I got kicked out. Me and my cousin Casey snuck into that one, and then they figured out we weren't old enough to be there. Anyway, and that one actually scared me. So since then, I haven't been a huge fan of a lot of found footages because they've just kind of become so like predictable. But this one had a good eerie feeling to it, and there was like some creepy clown stuff in it, and I felt like they could have focused a little less on the characters and a little more on what was going on at the house. But I liked it enough that I think we'll continue to check out the other ones, and I that was the first one from 2015. One of my picks was Maniac Cop, and that one was from 1988, and I know that has like a huge cult following, and it's about cop that got killed and now his resurrected version is going around doing bad stuff. And I didn't really enjoy it that much. I heard the sequels are better. But I didn't really buy into it. It was kind of very predictable. I didn't think it was scary. I didn't even think it was really that funny, and I think it's kind of marketed as a horror comedy. So I don't know. What did you think about it?
Well, I had Ash, from Evil Dead, so that was
Gosh.
the part, So I expected it to be funny, but yeah, it was kind of a little humorous, in terms of like the killings that they had and some of the special effects. But yeah, it was more like kind of, they were trying to point it at one particular character, trying to make it seem like he was the one that was actually doing it, and then it ends up that it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Going along the same lines of found footage, I had chosen the Poughkeepsie tapes. This one, again, I would say I wasn't paying too much attention to it as much because the different stories that there were kind of they're disjointed to me. Some of them, they try to tie it up that it's in the same area, but they weren't really all linked, I would say, but maybe they were. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of hard. I really have to agree with what you say. It felt very disjointed. They kind of tried to make it like a true crime document. Like if you watch any true crime documentaries with the like the official footage and like they're talking to the detectives, it's not real, of course, but it just was kind of hard to follow. I kind of started to lose interest at some points, and I kind of zoned out and didn't pay attention. So I wouldn't put it high on my list of movies to recommend. And that one came out in 2007.
And where's Poughkeepsie?
Gosh, I don't know. I know
Shout out to all the Poughkeepsie listeners over here.
they're probably so mad at
Sorry
us.
if I don't know where
You
you're
don't know
at.
where you're.
New Jersey?
I keep thinking New Jersey in my head, but I could be wrong. Well, again, according to the old Google machine, it says New York, but I really felt like it
Okay.
was
New York. There you go.
Jersey.
Yeah, that sounds right. New York.
Because it had more like a small town vibe, but we could be completely wrong. We're sorry to our Poughkeepsie listeners.
Yeah.
We're not doing your city justice. Another one that we watched and I really had never seen. If you guys listened to our introduction episode, I'm not a huge fan of clowns, but everybody said that it was really funny. So we checked out Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's from 1988 and it was pretty funny. It's very silly. If you're scared of clowns, these clowns are not scary at all. It's just like evil shenanigans, funny stuff. I know there's several in the franchise. The ending was kind of weird and silly. Surprisingly, our little one really got into it. We don't really watch too many scary movies with him if he's around, but he was around and he was cracking up on it, and he keeps even telling us that he wants to watch it again.
I don't know if he was like he doesn't really understand what's going on, but he thought that the clowns were funny, so that's what he was kind of enjoying
Their silliness.
their
Yeah.
silliness. Yeah.
But I now my new joke is if he tells people he wants to watch the clown movie again, I could tell them he wants to watch Terrifier. But I don't know. People are gonna enjoy my joke or get my joke. But yeah, it's 1988. Will I check out the other ones? Probably at some point. It was entertaining. I could see why there's a cult following.
The next one that I like this one I really enjoyed. It had a really good premise behind it, and the execution was really good. I liked it. It's called The Belko Experiment from 2016, and basically the premise is that there's a place of work, and I forget what they actually do, the industry that they have, but they are setting up a experiment, and what they did is they separated all of the employees, and the employees were uh, locked into their office, and they gave them a set of rules of what they needed to do in order to survive. And it basically ended up being kind of like the Hunger Games, where everyone has to kill each other in order to survive. And at first it was which group killed the most people, which individuals started killing the most people, and you got this segregation of people that were truly evil, others that try to help each other, the co-workers, and whatever happened because of that. Now to me it's interesting because working in an office setting, you have your coworkers that you are friends with. Some of your coworkers, maybe you don't like them, I don't know, but the premise of, hey, you have to kill your coworkers is kind of interesting.
Yeah, this was a really good one. I think anybody could relate to it, even if you haven't even worked in an office setting. Like you said, if you have a coworker that you don't like or you don't get along with, it would be interesting to see who's going to pick what sides. Definitely had like the crowd mentality thing going on, and people, trying to take charge, and people trying to do the right thing, and just seeing the different consequences of what happened in it. And yeah, that one was good. I could say really great things about it. If you haven't watched it, it's a good one. Check it out.
Be nice to your coworkers, guys.
Yeah, because you never know what kind of experiment you might end up in, or what kind of situation. Unfortunately, the world we live in, what kind of situation you might end up in, and you might need your coworkers' help. So keep that in mind. One of my picks was Mr. Crockett, and Mr. Crockett. It was on Hulu, and Hulu made this movie, and it originates from one of their bite-sized Halloween movies that they have, and their bite-sized Halloween are like, I think they're like less than 5 minutes, and every October Hulu puts out these bite-sized Halloween, and they're like little 5 minute film, less than 5 minute films, and some of them are really good, some are all right. Like anything, some are better than others, and that's where this Mr. Crockett character originated. And this is a supernatural, where there's a guy kind of in the vein of Mr. Rogers, where he is pulling in kids into his world and doing bad things. And I don't, again, without giving too much away from it, it was entertaining. I think that, again, this one was also slightly disjointed, and it was kind of hard to follow at times, but I think they can do a lot with this character. I really liked the actor that played Mr. Crockett. His name was Elvis Nolasco. I thought he did a really good job as the character. I think much like Candyman is very iconic. I think with the right storyline, if they do a follow up, he could also be a very iconic character.
Now this was like a anthology, right? So technically it was like different stories, but it all related to him, or was it just one big movie? I thought it was split up between like different stories of different kids that are doing.
I wouldn't call it an anthology traditionally. It was just there was different missing kids, and we're getting like that parent's
That
things.
story,
What's going
okay.
on with that parent? What's going on with this one? And then it all ties together at the end, and we find out the true meaning of Mr. Crockett and why Mr. Crockett is doing these things. But again, the guy, he's like I said, like a Mr. Rogers type, and he seems very friendly. And I think he's being found on like old VHS tapes, if I remember correctly. But that one just came out in 2024, and like I said, I'm very interested in what if they're going to do a follow up and what they're going to do with it.
So the next movie that I had chosen was Flight 7500 from 2014. And this is a movie about a group of passengers that are on a large, like Airbus type of plane that has multiple levels. And the premise basically is that something bad happens to them in the beginning of the movie. And they're trying to figure out all the weird things that are occurring throughout the movie. And at the end, there's a big reveal. Uh, but it was an entertaining movie. I liked it. You kind of are trying to figure out the whole time what the heck is going on. So yeah, it was good, thought provoking movie to me.
Yeah, I thought the premise of it and the idea was unique. I don't know if it was just low budget and it didn't come through right. I didn't personally. It wasn't memorable for me. I don't think it's one that I'm gonna find myself wanting to rewatch. What year did that one come out?
2014.
2014. Another one from 2024 that we watched was Immaculate. This is the one about a nun from America, or a girl that's gonna become a nun, and she's in Italy and she becomes pregnant, and we find out why she becomes pregnant. And I don't want to give this one away, the ending, but if you've seen the first Omen, they're so similar. I had watched the first Omen earlier, and when I'm watching Immaculate, the whole time I'm like, this is the same movie. So you might have that happen to you if you watch Immaculate first and then you watch the first Omen, you're gonna think the same thing. But the ending, the twist is different. So it was just odd that these movies came out, I think, within like a month of each other and in the same year. I would still watch them. I think they both bring different things to the table. If you're a fan of supernatural stuff, is religious horror. This is one that
Colts.
cults. Yeah, I mean it's got cult vibes to it, but I mean you didn't watch the first Omen, right? From 2024.
No, I don't think I've watched. I watched the original.
Yeah, the original Omen. So yeah, if you've watched the first Omen or you watch Immaculate, they're very similar. Even though they're very similar, it is worth getting to the end to see the differences. And it was a different take. So I liked the twist at the end. And it's not supposed to be a twist. You're not supposed to compare it to the first Omen, but anybody who's watched the first Omen, you're gonna do that.
And then the next one I chose was Escape Room from 2017. And I want to say that there's multiple of these, or at least there are multiple premises that are very similar. But so I decided, hey, I'll check out, the original one or one of the original ones. And essentially what it is, group of friends, I think it was somebody's birthday. They decided to go to an escape room that was very fancy. Like they picked them up and put them in a nice chauffeured shuttle, and they took all of their stuff, their phones, their keys, everything that they had in their pockets, which kind of tells you that something's wrong right there. They put them in different rooms of this escape room, and each of them had to figure out how to get out of the different rooms. And then essentially at the end, they had to try to escape. And obviously, with this type of movie, nothing goes well for any of them. And I think only one person survives, maybe two.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was pretty entertaining. Like you said, I think there's several escape rooms, and then there's ones like the Cube and stuff, and they've got similar premises. It's entertaining. I'd check it out again.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Cube or Saw or
Yeah,
anything
like
where
Saw. You're right.
where you're like, here's a gruesome death if you don't figure out this puzzle.
Yeah. A 2024 movie that we checked out was called It's What's Inside, and it was advertised as a horror. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's a straight up horror. It's definitely more of like a comedy, but I really liked this one. And this is where there's a group of friends. I think they were like college friends originally, and they meet back up at this mansion because one of their friends is getting married. One of the friends brings with them this machine where he's able to put people into other bodies, like their consciousness, I
Like their
guess. Yeah, their
consciousness,
consciousness. And just the things that ensue. I mean, if you have if you have a group of friends where any of your friends have like hooked up before, or you're kind of frenemies, that's what's going on here, and it just takes it to the next level. And again, there's some really cool there's a really cool like twist at the end that I didn't see coming, but there's just bad things that happen, and it's funny. It kind of messes with you a little. You have to kind of you have to really pay attention to keep track like which character is in which person, and remembering their backstory so that what's going on makes sense. But I really enjoyed it, and this is on Netflix, so if you're able to, this is one worth watching.
Yeah, I like the concept of basically transference. Think of it, those old movies where people change their uh,
Oh,
consciousness to
like
another
Freaky
body,
Friday or
like
like
Freaky
Father like
Friday, yeah, but
Son.
with everyone.
Yeah,
And they were playing a game with it, but you know, bad things happen because of that game.
for sure.
Yeah, it's a cool concept. Another series that's pretty big that has multiple movies that are a part of it was VHS from 2012. And this one is again kind of like a found footage, kind of like it is a found footage movie where there's VHS tapes that people see, and things happen because of what they're watching on these VHS tapes. And it's a pretty popular movie. I hadn't watched it and got into the series, but it's a good start if you like the found footage. Again, you're trying to figure out what's going on with these movies, and then as you slowly realize, oh, this is what's happening. This is oh, now this person's gonna die. You kind of start realizing what's gonna happen because of that.
Are they all connected? I can't recall that. If are the movies like the
Yeah.
scenes within it, like that they're, because it's not just one long tape, right? Or there's multiple like vignettes on the tape. I guess is the best word to
Yeah.
describe it.
So the people go in there and they steal. They're supposed to steal something from the house, and they find these VHS movies. And as they're watching the VHS movies, they get killed because of what's on there.
Okay.
So yeah,
And I think that was like one of the first movies that Ty West, he's in it, and I think he produced or directed one of the vignettes. So that's gonna bring me to another new movie that we watched. We watched 2024's Maxine, and Maxine is the third one in the franchise. If you've seen X and then Pearl and Maxine, and just like the other ones, even though the main character of Maxine is connected, this one is different. X is more like a slasher movie that is in the vein of like the 70s. Pearl is during, gosh, is that World War II, I think, era. And then this one is more like modern Hollywood. I think it was like the weakest of the three in that franchise. I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of X because it's similar to a lot of those movies where they're out in the middle of nowhere and just young hot people are dying. But I really like those movies. So I didn't find this one as entertaining. I think it's good if you want to kind of close it up. I think they could have done a little better with it, of closing up her story. Some of it was kind of like not believable. But if you've seen the other two, I think you need to follow it up and finish out the trilogy.
yeah. And one thing that we do in these types of movies where it's a group of people that are in a situation, we take bets on who's going to die first.
It's true.
And a lot of the times, I've chosen the wrong one. Like I've ended up choosing the last person that dies. I'm like, what the heck? I'm thinking they're the first people. And Alyse is actually pretty good at choosing the right ones. But most of these, like we're talking about, like escape room. It's a group of people. Who's gonna die first, and that happens. And same thing, Max. Well, like this next movie that I'm going to talk about, The Resort, similar concept where it's like it's a group of people that go to a resort that's been abandoned, and who's going to die first. And I think this one, I actually chose the last person on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good talent that I have. I don't know where that's really going to help me too much in life, but I guess I guess I'll embrace it. Yeah, I don't remember too much about the result. It was another one I was like, I could do without it. I don't need to rewatch it.
Yeah, and this is from 2021, and It was a group of people go to an abandoned resort, and there's creatures that are there, and they're killing people. So
So one of the foreign movies that we watched was called Let the Right One In, and that one's from 2008. And this is one that I kept hearing about, and it was just a matter of I knew we were gonna watch it. I really needed to like sit down and pay attention because it is a Swedish movie, I believe, and so there's subtitles, and it's about a little girl who is a vampire, and I'm not really giving that away because they figured that out real quick, so I'm not spoiling that. And the friendship that she starts to have with another little boy that lives in her apartment building, and the protection that she has for him. And there's some of it is kind of vague. Like I drove me crazy was they kind of left it vague as to how she became who she was and who was looking out for her. But it was a very beautiful movie. And I know there's an American version of it. I don't even know what year the American version is. So it will be interesting to see if that one's better.
yeah, I don't remember too much about this movie. I didn't really pay attention to it.
I don't think it interests you as much. Maybe again, sometimes it's just hard. When you have, we have our little one running around sometimes, or just life, and yeah, the subtitles didn't make it easy.
Okay. Now this one I had looked up this next movie. I was watching a list of like best movies to watch, and this was like up really high on the list. It was like number 5 or something like that. And so I was like, let's check it out. It's called Audition from 1999, and it's a Japanese film where basically a guy is looking for a wife, essentially, and he ends up talking to his friend, and his friend was like, "Hey, I can hook you up by auditioning some actresses. Come to my studio. We'll tell them it's for a role, but in actuality, we're gonna hook you up, kind of thing." And so he goes and they interview multiple women, and they go through what he likes essentially, and things that he finds unattractive on towards women, and he ends up finding one, and it ends up that it was the wrong pick.
Yeah, this guy's picker was bad, but he gets what's coming to him. We'll leave it at that. This is a very popular one. A lot of people, and it's another one where I'm sure there's horror fans out there like, really, you hadn't seen the audition yet? Nope, hadn't seen audition yet. But it was another one. Again, I knew we needed to watch it when we had time to pay attention, and again, being able to read subtitles. So it's a great one. I think it's entertaining, and it's got some interesting body horror in it, some good gore, interesting story.
Was there other? Are there other movies that are similar premises? I've seen other ones that are called Audition, but I don't know if they are actually like a remake of this one.
I don't believe there's any remakes on this one. I know a lot of the good Japanese and Korean horror movies get remade, but as far as I know, I don't believe it got remade.
Oh, that was my
Yeah,
pick.
yeah,
Huh?
that was your pick. So one of my picks was from 2015, Blood Sucking Bastards, and this was funny. It was again, it's like an office culture. I don't know. I'd kind of describe it as like The Office with some killing going on, and it has everybody's favorite zaddy, Pedro Pascal is in it. So that was part of why I wanted to check it out.
Did you even watch The Office?
No, The Office. I watched. Oh no, I'm sorry. Office Space. What's the movie? Not The Office, the show. Sorry, Office Space with Ron Livingston. Is that what that one's called?
Sure. But yeah, I was like, you don't. I don't think I've never seen you watch.
Yeah,
The Office.
I meant Office Space.
This is terrible.
Office Space. Yeah, I know. I
Ter-
know.
I don't know how you can.
I
not
think
watch
this
The
came up in another episode where I talked about that. I've never actually watched The Office. No, I'm referring to Office
But,
Space,
yeah.
the 1999 movie with Ron Livingston with the stapler and where they beat up the copy machine.
Yes, but Bloodsucking Bastard, Pedro Pascal is hilarious in this one. He plays such a bad guy, like
Skeezy boss.
skeezy boss. He's such a good bad guy in this one.
Yeah, and there's like a guy trying to like win back his girlfriend. It's just like typical. What do you call that? A water cooler. What do they call that? Water cooler.
Water cooler romance. Oh,
Yeah, water cooler politics, and yeah, it's office drama. It was funny. I liked it. It was again. It was from 2015, 2015, and it was one I had never heard of, especially for having Pedro Pascal. So I think it's got kind of a B movie status to it, but I liked it. It was fun.
This is another movie with a group of people that we're all going to die horribly. And this one's called Truth or Dare from 2017. And essentially, it's very similar to other movies. Group gets together, they decide to have a party at a house where a lot of people had died, and they died from a truth or dare game. So they're like, hey, let's have fun and play this game that everyone died in. Wrong decision, I guess. But essentially, the house ends up telling them what they need to do, and if they don't do it within a certain amount of time, then they have some horrible death.
Yeah, it's just picking people off. I think that's another one where I think I got the person right on that one who's gonna
Yeah,
die.
I didn't get any of these right.
And that's, and like you said, it's 2017. I think there's a 2018 movie that came out called Truth or Dare, and it was a big release with Lucy Hale. So it's not that one; it's a different one. I think there's even a few movies that are not connected to each other with this title. I could see it being a popular title, but we watched the 2017 one. A silly one that I picked, and I picked this one hoping Paul would like it because again, Paul really digs silly creature movies, silly like creature mashups. I picked Slaughterhouse, and this was a Hulu movie, and I don't think it was the greatest. I thought it was funny, like this cute sloth, like going around killing and doing bad things because he would plot to do stuff. It takes place in like modern time at a sorority house, and this premise is like not believable. This girl, to gain favor, she brings home like a pet sloth, and everybody thinks the sloth is really cute and it's gonna be like the mascot. But in reality, the sloth is just doing like really bad, shady, funny stuff. But it didn't land as well as I thought it was gonna.
No, definitely not. I mean, one of the big things though is that, I like bears, I like gators, I like cocaine bears and meth gators.
Yeah.
I like bad CGI gators. I don't like sloths. I don't know what it is. They're creepy to me. The way that they move, they look like they're plotting. So exactly how this movie is, all of my suspicions were correct.
Yeah, yeah. They were correct. And like I said, I thought he was savvy in the sense that he was like using social media and doing different things, but
Yeah, that one's so
yeah.
weird. He's using social media to like trick people.
Yeah, and to post his kills. But if you don't see it, you're not missing out.
Here's an older one of the same type of genre where there's a group of people that go to a party at a house that is creepy and they all die called Night of the Demons from 1988. And I mean, that's the whole premise behind it again. They go to this party and everyone starts slowly becoming demons. And they get possessed essentially. And then that demon starts killing people. And then they get possessed. And then there's one or two people that remain.
Yeah, this is a classic though. It's pretty high on the list of like 80s slashers. I saw it as a kid, and it was like it took probably like halfway through it. I was like, oh, I started remembering like a big scene. And if you've seen it, you probably know what scene that involves. I can't remember her name. She's a big 80s. I think she's been in a lot of 80s movies, and something that happens with their stomach. But they're like at a funeral parlor, and then like silly young people, silly teenagers or college age, they're like, let's have a seance at a funeral parlor because this is totally gonna go well, and it doesn't go well. But I liked it. I think it was entertaining. It's definitely in the vein of 80s classics. So if you're into the 80s slasher type movies, you should put it on your list to watch. Another silly one that I picked was from 2004. It's called Satan's Little Helper. And this is about a little boy that's been playing a video game called Satan's Little Helper. And he thinks that the video game is real. So when there's a person going around dressed like Satan on Halloween doing bad stuff, he thinks it's like the guy from the video game. And the video game kind of gave me like Paperboy vibes. And he goes and he thinks he's doing like quests with Satan, but really like Satan is actually bad. And this was when we watched the Joe Bob Briggs version. So if you have the Shudder streaming service, you can check it out on there with his commentary. I think if it didn't have this commentary, we might not have enjoyed the movie as much.
Yeah, I agree with the Joe Bob Briggs. He explained a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. And then Darcy, the male girl, is it Darcy? Marcy?
Darcy.
Darcy, the male girl. Sorry. I've met her.
Yeah, we met her at Midsummer. We met both of them at Midsummer Scream, actually.
Darcy, the male girl. She was rolling around with the actual mask that was used in the movie. The director creator had brought it and allowed her to use it, and the story behind it was how they made it, where they had to make a couple of them in order to fulfill the requirements for the movie. But that was the actual one that the actor wore, so
Yeah.
that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was interesting to see, hear a lot of the behind the scenes things that Joe Bob brings to that movie.
Plus, he had the actual director there for for a couple of the segments, maybe. So that was cool. I think I always like when he not only brings his trivia and interesting facts about the movie, but it's cool when he brings somebody that was involved with the production of it. So I think that really saved it for us.
Yeah, and then for me, the next one that I chose is Jigsaw from 2017. So this is a continuation from the Saw movies after the guy dies, I
The
think.
main guy, Jigsaw's the guy who is Jigsaw, essentially.
Exactly. Now, I haven't watched all of the Saw movies. I think I've watched the first couple of them and then kind of stopped watching them. I enjoyed them, just didn't take the time to watch the rest of them. So I wanted to see the new iteration coming out, and it's a Saw movie. Basically, there's not much more to say to that. It has the trying to solve puzzles and figuring out what were the bad things that the people did and why they're being punished.
Yeah, it was entertaining. I think it's like part 10 technically when we looked it up. So there's quite a lot of them in between there to watch. One that I picked was Salem's Lot, and that was the 2024 version. And I thought it was good. A lot of people didn't like it. I think when it comes to remakes and sequels and prequels, I try to go into them more open minded. I know some people get really annoyed. Like, it's hard to live up to the fans' hype. I mean, this happens with any franchise, not even just in the horror genre. So I went into it with an open mind, and I think considering like how good the original miniseries was, I don't think this one was as good, and maybe that's just the nostalgia wasn't there. And I've never read the book, so you might be able to talk about that part more. I thought that they did good considering that they took them instead of doing a mini series, they just made it a movie version, and it was shortened, and there were some differences in it, and they did kind of bring back one of the iconic scenes. So I think it's good. Go and do it with an open mind. Don't compare it to the mini series. I don't know if you can compare it to the book or not, but I liked it.
Well, I mean, that's part of the problem with these types of series is that it's a Stephen King novel, so it's long. He puts a lot of details in his books, and it's hard to capture all of that in a 2-hour movie. It would have been nice. The miniseries is older, didn't have as big of a budget in terms of like the effects and the acting and the sets. This one had a little more budget in that sense, but try to cram a 30-hour book into a 2-hour movie is difficult. So you lose a lot of the nuances of the characters. So yeah, that's hard. That's a hard ask for a director and a writer to be able to do. But yeah, it was entertaining. It tells the story of the book. It's just that it's kind of a rushed storytelling of
Yeah,
it.
for sure. Definitely felt rushed. And a good one that we picked, another foreign one, was When Evil Lurks. And this one, ooh, it had like a total creep factor to it. It's from 2023, and it's from an Argentinian director, and we've liked everything that this guy has produced. Terrified, not Terrifier, Terrified. He had also had one of the stories in the anthology, Satanic Hispanics. And When Evil Lurks, it's the story of this is there's these residents of a small town, and there is a demon within a person, and they're trying to figure out how to get rid of this demon without unleashing the demon on everybody. And from what I understand, this is kind of like an old folk story from, I don't know if it's from the whole country of Argentina or a specific area in Argentina. I don't know enough about Argentina to speak on that, but it kind of reminds me of, I think within wherever you live, everybody has folk stories, or you have urban legends, or you have these beliefs that have been passed on through generations. And from what I understand, that's one of these type of stories. And the director took that story and made this movie, and it's really good. It's very dark
Yeah,
and creepy, and
yeah.
it
It
gave
had
me
a
it kind of kept me up a little bit in the middle of the night, which is good because when a movie can do that, that means it actually was scary.
it had that that small town old folks tales, where they're how you're supposed to deal with demons. Like there were rules,
Mm-hmm.
like you had to do certain things, how to kill them, how to do XYZ, don't do this, don't do that, and if you did, then the potential was that the demon would start following you essentially and killing your family, and so that put them in danger. So yeah, it was a good story. Definitely a good story.
I think it's one of the best ones we watched. I would definitely put it as one of the top ones out of all the ones that we watched in October.
Yeah, it's almost sad to put it on a list of the movies that we watched.
In comparison to
Most of
so
them,
many of
most of them were
these bad B
not on
movie,
the
bad
list.
B horror movies. I mean, the same with I think Oddity was up there as well. Another one you picked was Bad Candy from 2020. What do you remember about that one?
I don't remember much.
It was an anthology as well. It was I can remember it was like a radio DJ telling
Oh,
stories,
that's right.
and I think
That's
it's
right.
oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting his name, and I just thought about him earlier. It's the lead singer from Slipknot.
Yeah, he was a DJ for a small town, and they were telling stories like Halloween stories, and it ended up being like some of them were true. So I think like everyone died.
Yeah, it's Corey Taylor. Yeah, so he plays a bad radio, and we're making fun of him, right? Remember, he wasn't talking into his mic and all these bad things that we're learning as new podcasters.
Yeah, we were like critiquing him talking on the mic. Although we're terrible at talking on the mic
We're
too,
still
but
getting better at that.
that's why we know like, hey, if you're not talking on the mic like that, then it's gonna sound terrible.
Yeah, I don't think none of the stories were great, except I did like the last story, and that was like some military buddies, and they're out hunting people. They're getting they're taking out bad people. It's like the concept of like they're committing crimes, but they're killing people who do bad things, and there's a fun twist with it. So the last vignette is really cool. If you don't want to watch the whole thing, watch it and go to the last story in the anthology. That one was worth watching. All the rest of them, I can't even remember them, to be honest. So that shows you how memorable they were. And if you're a Corey Taylor fan, a Slipknot fan, and you want to see him acting in some stuff, you could check that out for that reason as well. And our last one was Mads from 2024, and that was on Shutter. I think you picked that one.
Yeah, and that was a foreign film also, right? It was in what was it in French?
Yes, it was French. It was a French movie.
Yeah, so it was an interesting, I think, almost like a psychological thriller at first because you're trying to figure out what is going on. People were taking a drug and then they start flipping out and going crazy. That's what your initial impression was, that is what is happening. But in reality, and this spoils everything if you guys don't know, in reality, everyone was starting to become infected with the virus that was turning them into zombies essentially. But they thought that it was this drug that they took, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, you thought it was
And
like a contaminated drug or something.
yeah, exactly. You thought it was a contaminated drug that was making them crazy. But it was a unique movie. I think some of the things that I read was that it was like a one shot type of film where everything was filmed in one shot. And the guy, when they did the movie, they did it over like 5 days. And they were, the first 3 days, they couldn't get it done. Like they couldn't finish it. And so then finally, like in the last couple of days, they were able to do like three different full run throughs in the movie. And that's what they put together at the end. So it's very quickly put together. And it was awesome, like how it was shot. There's action scenes. There's a big chase scene
Mm-hmm.
where they're on a Vespa and everything. How it's done. It's amazing that they were able to do it in like one shot like that.
Yeah, like when you watch it, like the quality of it doesn't look as good, but then it makes sense when you find out that they filmed it all in one shot. I mean, I don't know much about this director or what else he's done, but it definitely makes me want to check out other things that he's watched. And it was a good storyline, so it's another one. It was really cool, and I think that one's also exclusively on Shutter.
Yeah, it was really good. The acting was really good by the different people, and it kind of follows different people. As they've been exposed to this virus, and they slowly start dying, and becoming more and more zombie like. And then at the end, you kind of find out what's going on. They quarantine the whole city, and the girl that you were hoping was going to survive, she's infected, and it's too late for everyone basically.
Yeah. Well, I think that covers all of our 31 movies that we watched. Um, I know.
So what was your favorite out of all of them?
Oh gosh, probably When Evil Lurks. I would say right behind it is Psycho 2 and what was the other one that I really liked? I liked It's What's Inside and I liked Oddity. I think those were really cool. And I think there's some that were fun like Bloodsucking Bastards, but yeah, I think When Evil Lurks, I mean, it was just the true epitome of like it's a straight up horror movie. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I did like Mads. I liked that whole concept. That, like I said, the one shot filming. That one was good. I enjoyed the Belko
Oh
experiment,
yeah,
the
yeah.
story behind it. That one was very interesting. Just like a what if kind of thing, and well done. I think I liked how it is. And yeah, When Evil Lurks was good.
In Belko Experiment, they set that up like they could definitely do a sequel with that one.
Yeah, because it was
The
in the
ending
movie.
was
In the
yeah.
movie, they actually set it up in multiple locations. It wasn't just one location, and that's kind of what they find out, that it's a large experiment, not just in one
Yeah,
location.
it could be like Purge, right? How like the Purge, you can just keep going on and on with the Purge because it's different people's experiences of what's going on the night of the Purge.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. We hope from this list you get some cool movies to go check out, and maybe we saved you from watching some of them that weren't so good. It's a tradition for us every October.
Attack of the Meth Gator. Excellent.
Boo! Don't watch Attack of the Meth Gator. You could skip Slaughterhouse. I'll dog out one from my list too. Like we said, there's some. If you don't watch them, it's you just gotta. The few sentences that we gave you about them will suffice. So with that, we want to thank you guys for listening to this episode of Dreadful Dialogue. We appreciate all of our listeners. We hope you guys had a good spooky season. If you want to know any more about us, you can check out our website, dreadfuldialogue.com. We are also on Instagram at Dreadful Dialogue Podcast. And if you haven't already, hey, we need people to don't forget to subscribe. We also have, you can leave us comments on Spotify. You can DM us on Instagram if you have any thoughts on any of these movies. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on these. So with that, thank you guys and have a good